Hey, you! It's Slender.
All right, it's been my last dry morning for a bit. Another big storm came in, pissing rain. But that's actually really good for hunting black-tailed deer. What's going on now? I guess by the time you guys hear this one, or while you're hearing this, I don't even know when this will launch. Tomorrow, day after, something? I will be in the woods while you're listening to this. So what's going on today, the latest? We'll start with the good first. Make the good priority. We delivered food to... I think we delivered food to... seven homes. Damn it. Come on. Last night. Yesterday. Afternoon, late evening. Late afternoon, early evening. Wow. What an experience for me to do that end of it. But, there's a lot of, the majority of the people you do this for, they don't want to talk, they don't want to hang out, they just want to, thanks, and go back in the house. And we were talking about it after, about how many people, there's a lot of people online they'll approach somebody who's down and out with a camera in their face on the side of the road. Hey, you want a Wendy's burger and a large pop? What else do you want, bud? We're here to do kind things. Fuck you, you piece of shit. Right? Imagine being in that of a shitty spot. Next thing you know, you got a camera in your face, videotaping you, sitting there on the side of the road, dirty. So somebody can stroke the shit out of their ego. Anyway, kind of gross, but some mouthy sack of shit commented the other day about me posting pictures of the food you guys bought. We all bought together. And then I'm looking to get stroked. Well, that's actually just a photographic form of accounting, right? Show you guys that it's really going down, unlike some of these other people who make foundations, right? Like what, the Clinton Foundation? Helping people? Not. Probably bought more kids for Epstein Island with their foundation money. But anyway, I know I'm getting off track, sorry. There's something else to hear. Like I said, I was like, you hear that? And you can hear these two little boys screaming in the house. Screaming with joy in the house at that food. It's pretty cool. We had another lady, we delivered food to her, and she comes out, she's, oh my God, thank you so much. Yeah, here you go. Here's a box. Get ready, there's more. Like, she's, oh, thank you so much. We're like, huh? Oh, no. Go put it in the house, there's a lot more. That was fun for me. And she was really taken back. And then we had another woman. I don't ask him any questions, I say nothing, a big smile. Trying to smile, still haven't got my tooth fixed, so you haven't noticed I haven't been smiling, showing my teeth, right? I guess Sarah said this is the time of year when everybody's trying to use up what's left on their dental plan or something. So that's why they can't get me in yet, but we'll get in. I'll get my smile back. But anyway, it's one woman. She didn't even know. She thought it was a lottery. She's like, oh no, it can't be me. I didn't enter any lottery. And she's really trying to say, no, it couldn't be me. Are you sure? I mean, it's got to be somebody else that needs more than me, And we went to this one woman's house. Sarah told me that was who it was afterwards. And man, she looked, she hadn't been eating properly. And those children hadn't been eating properly. You can tell. It just kills you. And, she came out with a little wagon. She had one of those tilt wagons, that people use for the groceries and shit. And I had loaded it right up. And then she just stood there and started crying. Ooh. And then she said, that's so much food, because she goes, but I'm the place. You can tell her place is warm. Warm home. Warm meaning warm energy, and this complex. She said that her house is the house that all the kids go to. So she'll be sharing that with other kids. And then, so I think I'm going to keep tabs on that household. And I'm just going to throw down. She's going to come out to that door and find another huge box of food not too far off. Another woman, another household we dropped off to. Sadly, her partner decided he didn't want to live anymore a while back. And apparently we had all donated to her before. And Sarah said when she saw her, I think it was her social worker or something, nominated her as a real good recipient for help. And Sarah looked into her, and Sarah delivered to her and said that when she delivered the food to her, she's got a couple little boys. She said that she was a bag of bones. And then this time around, she said, oh my God, she's doing so much better. I'm like, really? She said, no, she was a bag of bones. I delivered to her before. Like, oh my God, that is so good. She looked really healthy to me. Healthy. She looked healthy. I wouldn't have walked away thinking, man, that one was a bag of bones. She looked healthy. So that's freaking awesome. I don't know how many people we all just fed in the last few days. I think I think Sarah said something about 38. 38 people. 38 people's Christmases were just made the best ever. All of them. We're messaging Sarah after, and the kids said, it was the best Christmas ever. It's not even Christmas yet. So there you go. There you go. There's that report. Good work. Good work. All right, now what else? Oh, our dictator just decided to pass some kind of new terrorist law in Canada that's going to make Canada confiscate, I think, 342 different variations of firearms from innocent law-abiding people. Just went down. I posted that in the comment section of this community page of the channel. Isn't that amazing? So, you guys know how frustrated I get with bad people. You can just imagine what's going on between my ears living here in Canada-stan, fallen Canada. You imagine how frustrated I must be, right? And many others. But me in particular, since you know my stance and how I can get riled up when it comes to bad people and what they do to good people. So I've got to do some thinking. I don't see any good coming to Canada-stan in the near future. And he's going to pledge to, here's the irony. He's taking these firearms from law-abiding innocent Canadian citizens and he's donating them to the Ukraine so they can keep killing people with them. Because they need to protect themselves. What the fuck? Right? Klaus Schwab, World of Young Leaders graduate. Allegedly his dad raped and killed children, along with the other Western animal terrorist deep state leaders. Do I think that's true? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's amazing. It's absolutely mind-boggling. And I know it's everywhere. And I know there's a lot of my brothers and sisters in the United States who are frustrated too right now, considering, was it that wacko path who's sitting in that chair right now in your country just said that he needs a panic emergency, 58 more billion of your money to go to the Ukraine to stop, quote, Russian aggression. You gotta see the joke in that by now. Right? Now, especially after that video that launched the other day that I showed you, that German journalist we listened to together. Could you imagine the people who have a functioning brain between their ears when they hear that loser say, we need 58 more billion to try to prevent more Russian aggression. as they are dogpiling French, German, Canadian, American troops on the border of Russia nonstop, missiles everywhere, the secret CIA bases along the border, biological labs in the Ukraine, the whole 9 yards, right? And they're saying it's Russian aggression. Holy shit. And you know why we don't see Ukrainian citizens standing up and going ape shit protesting in the streets? Because the Zelensky government will kill them dead. That's why we don't see anything here, anything from Ukrainian citizens. All right, there you go. There's my little rant-a-roo. My little rant-a-roo. Then we went to Sarah's manufacturer of her hats and goodies because she got some new stuff made. Unfortunately, that's stuck in the mail strike we're having here. But she got a bunch of these made. I love these ones. And there's another one, my lucky hat, too. My lucky hat. She got some of those and some other ones for kids, but their hands are tied to complete her order because the packages are stuck just over there in Vancouver because of the mail strike that's going on here for Christmas time. I'd imagine Amazon's annihilating the postal service. And they're going through some growing and shrinking pains, right? All right. So what do we got going on? Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Who needs to be heard? Have a clue. Have a clue. Here we go. What do we got? This is titled Sasquatch Experience. My name is... Here we go again, starting off with their name. I hope in the end he's not going to say, oh yeah, don't use my name. My name is Stephen Marches. I hope I pronounced that right, Stephen. I apologize if I didn't. And I live near Tampa, Florida area. I'm 55 years old and have an undergraduate degree in anthropology and a master's degree in history. My wife is a business systems analyst and also has an anthropology degree and a master's, but in library information science. Oh, I thank you for throwing that down. Very early Friday, September 2019, we were staying in the family cabin near the Sunshine Grocery, 8.1 miles south of Blairsville, Georgia on Route 180. At about 3 a.m., I heard in the distance a loud, high-pitched scream. I cannot describe it. It kept getting louder until it was so loud it was literally piercing the walls of the cabin. It was directly outside. I'll bet they didn't teach you about that in that classroom. The sound increased in volume every 10 seconds or so until it was very close and decreased as it kept going away from the building. The being making the sound seemed to move from the south to the north in the Wolf Creek area to the top of the hill above Sunshine Grocery, quite possibly following a deer trail. I have seen deer move along this trail directly across the back of the property many times. When it was outside the cabin, the piercing screams sounded almost like distinct language with complexity. The sound was weirdly primate-like. It was scary, and my wife and I were terrified. I hope my wife didn't hear it, but she said, "Did you hear that?" I did not want to see it or look out the window, and I am glad it didn't bang on the building. I fully understand when you say, I'm not into it. I'm not either. There are wooden Sasquatch cutouts at many businesses in the area. I thought they were just cashing in. It appears to be part of the local experience. Here's another person's encounter within a 10-minute drive time from where we heard it. It may be a lame sight, but it shows vicinity. Thanks for offering a forum to get this off one's chest. It is kind of you. Best wishes, Stephen. Okay, man, appreciate that. I don't need to crack that link open, I don't believe. Somebody else's story. And you know what you heard. I wonder what it must be like, and I ask this in all honestly innocent, whatever you want to call it. I'm just trying to say. Hold on, where'd it go? Let's read your title again. I have an undergraduate degree in anthropology and a master's degree in history. I wonder how you feel about that history that you were taught to repeat. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's probably safe at this stage of our game and seeking truth. It's probably safe to say that you were taught to repeat the history you were taught. Am I wrong? And I'm curious to know how you and your wife feel about your degrees now, at this stage of the game, at this stage of the ride. You know what I mean? I wonder how you feel about that now. Now, and I appreciate you sharing that big time. You're a brave, honest man. Absolutely appreciate that. Who's next? Adventure Dog's outside in the shop, guarding the rest of the food that needs to be delivered. I hope she doesn't eat anything. Excuse me. This is titled Nothing. Okay, so when I was about 15 years old, me and my sister and brother were playing in the woods in Eugene, Oregon, where we were playing hide and seek. Me and my sister was hiding in the big hole in the ground, and I was looking out to see if I could see my brother. And there was this smell. Then I saw something a few feet away from us. It was bent over. It looked like it was picking something up. My foot slipped, and I broke a stick, and it stood up and looked right at us. And I froze. I was so scared. I wanted to run, but I could not move. Then it started to run at us, and we took off. I left my sister. We ran so fast out of the woods, and I did not look back, and I never went back in the woods again. I love my family. Short and to the point and leaving out a whole bunch, but that's okay. The baby steps and getting it out. Now, I'd imagine everyone at the table here, the first question is, did your sister make it home? Right? First off, did your sister make it home? I think she must have, otherwise you probably would have added that in there. And what did you see? What did you hear while you were running? Did it chase you all the way home? Could you hear it running behind you? What did it look like? Did you tell your parents? Your friends ever see something like that around your neighborhood? Your parents see it or know about it? And what have you learned since? Questions that come to my mind. Appreciate you sharing that, man. Anytime you want, email us back, all right? Or not. Hang out and learn. It's all good. Redding, California incident. Hello. Your channel is amazing for what I've tried to get answers for, what happened to me a few months ago. I just started getting into the Bigfoot phenomena. I'm not saying I had an encounter recently, but something weird happened to my dad and I and my buddy a few months ago. I live in Northern California near Redding. I was woken up by my dad. Mind you, he's a huge part of my life and someone I look up to. He served in the Gulf War, got me into jiu-jitsu and some Muay Thai at a young age around the same time he started, and I've never seen him react in the way that he seemed to be scared, only worried or really pissed off at me, haha. He woke me up one night by coming into my room, seeing if my dog, he usually sleeps with me, was in my room with me, and I realized something was up. When, seeing that he was startled, seeing my dog in my room, which is completely normal, he then asked me if I heard anything. I was confused as I was woken from a pretty deep sleep. I told him no and asked him why. He didn't answer, and immediately left, and then I saw our backyard lights flick on. We don't have a fence, and my dad with a flashlight go looking around. I got pretty worried at this point and grabbed my 9mm and headed out my bedroom door. I tried getting my dog to come with me, but he stayed put. I don't know why. He's always up for going with me, as he's always by my side, but he stayed put. I didn't think much of this and still don't, but I assume he was just tired like I was, albeit he never passes up the opportunity to go out back to get a chance at playing fetch, LOL. I went out back and asked my dad what was up. He said that he thought he heard a weird dog bark and heard something on the side of our house. Again, we have no fences, as our closest neighbors are about a quarter mile down the hill. We both looked around the house and saw nothing. I was pissed because I thought someone was trying to break in, and we even looked at our front cameras but saw nothing. So they, I assume, must have come via the side of our house, or from behind, which is covered in trees, and some pretty nasty thick brickle bushes? I think he meant prickle bushes that surround some of the outer back and right side of our house, which then ascends uphill pretty steeply. After our somewhat half-assed investigation, we assumed it was some raccoons, and both went back to our rooms, and nothing else occurred that night. I don't remember how many days later, but it was a Saturday, and my dad was taking my dog with him to see my aunt in Medford, as she was going on a trip to Rhode Island for my cousin's OCS graduation from the Navy. So my dad and his girlfriend were going to be up there for a few days watching and feeding their horses and dogs. I didn't think anything would be wrong, as I love staying alone, as I can usually smoke some tree without having... What? As I can usually smoke some tree without having to leave my house just because my dad hates the smell. Although it's always fun when him and my dad's girlfriend smoke sometimes, they're hilarious together. I fell asleep way earlier than I would have liked, just because, to be honest, I probably got a little too high. Haha. But I got terrified when I was awoken by an enormously loud bang on the side of the house, like someone or something smashed into the wall. I don't know if you've ever been woken up by something loud, but there can be a confusion, as if you're not sure if it was part of the dream or not. But I knew it wasn't, because my nightstand, which sits by my bed, was shaking a little. I don't know what this was, but I was telling myself it was an earthquake, because Southern California has been hit by some pretty hard earthquakes this year, and we've gotten some throughout my life, but I can probably count the amount of times on one hand, and they're relatively small. I immediately texted my friend asking if he wanted to come over and smoke, just so he could come over, but I didn't get a text back till the morning. I was terrified. For the rest of the night, holding my 9 and didn't move at all. I know that feeling. The next day I told my buddy about it, and he said he wanted to stay over and see if anything happens. I was really happy about this because I really didn't want to be alone, and that night absolutely nothing happened, except I was getting pretty stoned playing Red Dead. It's a video game on Xbox. Basically the game everyone is playing right now. I wouldn't know. The next day we hung out again, and he thankfully stayed over again as we kept playing Red Dead most of the day and into the night. After a late night Taco Bell run, we came back to the house and continued where we left off, and as I was falling asleep on my couch, he woke me up saying he was hearing something. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze, damn it. I hate sneezing. Alright. Excuse me. I didn't want to believe him and assured he was wanting to hear things as opposed to actually hearing something. We went up to my attic, which has an overview window which looks out over a backyard into the trees and hill. Excuse me. And after some odd minutes of smoking and looking at nothing, I was ready to go play more Red Dead until we both heard this loud sound come from the trees. I don't know how to explain it, but it sounded like a grunt. Excuse me. Almost like a woman on steroids lifting heavy weights grunting. God, I hope that makes sense. It sounded like whatever it was huge, and the lung capacity it had must have been huge. It sounded primal. We heard it once for maybe 5 seconds, which seemed like 5 minutes, and about 10 minutes later, after looking at the backyard religiously, heard again, although it was more up the hill this time. I told him to stay there as I ran to get my gun. I don't know why, I was just terrified, and I just wanted to have some sort of protection. I ran back up, and my buddy was so white in the face, he was away from the window and said he saw something move out of the trees and head towards my house. Whatever's making those sounds apparently came out of the trees and was heading towards the left side of my house, near where my room was located. When whatever it was realized my buddy was watching him, he told me it stared up at him for a split second before bolting back into the trees. He said he's never seen anything move that fast, and asked him about it sometime later. He said it scared him how fast it moved. Said thousands of people. I asked him what it was as I started for the window to see if I could see anything, and he said it was a tall gorilla. Although our back lights weren't on, so his eyes were completely dependent on rhodopsin, our chemical that builds up in our eyes to give us night vision. We've never discussed the Bigfoot topic, as I, nor him, to my knowledge, have ever had an interest. After getting him to open up and go back to the window, we looked and heard nothing for the rest of the night. That's such a shitty and terrifying scenario, right? That's like your worst boogeyman movie scene in real life. We waited until the sun came up and went to where he saw it. We didn't find any tracks, nothing. Then my buddy immediately left for home, and unfortunately didn't want to stay another night. Should have went to your buddies. I was terrified this next upcoming night, knowing that I was going to have to stay alone and couldn't bear the thought of seeing whatever he saw. So I locked up the house and headed to my buddy's house and stayed there until my dad came back from Medford. I was lucky that he was cool enough to let me stay over, as his girlfriend seemed to be getting annoyed that I wasn't leaving, which I completely understand. I asked him if he told her. He said no, because she often runs trails. But later on, I guess he told her after I left. Until this day, I guess she doesn't go out running. the trails unless my buddy or one of her friends tags along. That's good. That's good to hear that. Could you imagine? Could you imagine seeing something of that description where your wife or your girlfriend or your kids go running down the trails? Oh shit, I ain't telling them. Right? You see the craziness in that? For a lot of people that don't say shit. Unless they want to break up with them or something. I don't know. I'm kidding. I never told my dad what happened because I don't want him to think anything is wrong. And I've only heard or think I've heard small things here and there, but nothing for what I've experienced over that weekend. I mean, for that to happen when my dad was gone is so weird. Albeit my dad leaves me with the house alone a lot, especially since him and his girlfriend started hanging out a lot more. I hope that whatever that thing was, seeing my buddy scared it off, I hope that whatever that thing was, seeing my buddy scared it off, but I just don't know. And I can't even say I know it was a Bigfoot or whatever because I didn't see it. I only was woken up by a large slam on the side of my house and the odd but primal grunting. I didn't even find a handprint on the side of my house, although my house is a dark brown. And yes, I did take a ladder to examine, but didn't see any signs of a handprint being left. I'm really stumped, and to be honest, haven't slept throughout the night ever since this all occurred. I found this channel after trying to look into what this may have been, but I still have no conclusive answers. The weather's getting worse here, so I assume whatever it is probably moving away for winter, as I assume that's what most animals do. Thanks if you're able to read this through. Sorry if it's so long. I just want it to be as detailed as possible. This has me shaken up, but I don't want it to stop me from going out into the woods where I ride my bike a lot and take my dog out practically every day. But I can't even go without losing sight of my house, and it's really effing my head up. I want to move out of my house, to be honest, but I have nowhere to go. Especially since I work for my dad for the time being while I finish up my degree online. I just have no clue what to do, and I'm terrified, and I didn't even see anything. I just heard the most terrifying witch of a sound that I've ever heard. I can't describe how the bang on the side of my house has completely rattled me. And man, those grunting sounds just have my mind effed up. I can't even imagine how my friend feels. Thanks again. If you read this, I know you probably get a million of these, and people who probably have way better stories, but I figured I'd give it a shot. Your channel's completely changed my perspective on not just the Bigfoot topic, but how to treat people in general. People who come out with these stories feel like outcasts. But you're a solid dude for putting yourself out there to a community of people who have questions that need to be answered. Thanks again. I hope you're able to read this. Able to read it? Smooth as glass. You wrote that very well, and absolutely appreciate it. I'm sorry you're feeling a little messed up, but it's the nature of the beast when it comes to the unknown, right? But hopefully you've heard enough people here to accept the fact that you're probably all right, right? You're probably okay. And I get it. You don't want to see one. Not into it. It changes everything. Right? It changes everything. Ask your buddy. You should ask your buddy one day. So, how's life changed for you since you saw that thing in the backyard? Right? And I'm sure he'll start babbling like it. Like me. Won't stop talking. Trail cameras around the house. IR lights, or just IR lights around the house facing out to the timber. That usually works pretty good. And also, as well, if you're spiritual in any way, you can tell them. You command them and tell them they don't have permission to come to your home or to terrify or scare you or your family in any way. And that seems to work too. Or maybe even call yourself a Bigfoot researcher and then you won't see shit. Perfect, right? Kidding? Not. All right, here we go. Who's next? Who's next? This has been read. It's this one. Here we go. This is titled Sasquatch. It's always fun reading all these stories just before I'm about to go into the hotbed. by myself in the coastal mountains again. But once I get in the forest, I'm good. It's weird, right? This title, Sasquatch. Hey Steve, so my story happened 2 years ago when I was squirrel hunting back behind my house. I live in West Virginia, down in a valley. I went on the fourth flat of the hill behind my house and saw this red-looking thing about 60 yards away from me, and it was crouched down. When it heard me ask it, "Hey, who are you?" It looked at me, got up, and took off farther up the hill. I think it was about 8.5 to 9 feet tall. I was 13 when this happened. I haven't seen it since, thank God, but it's always in the back of my mind when I go back up there. End of story. There you go. Welcome to the club, my man. I don't know when that was sent, but if you want to email us back anytime and updates, what you've seen, what you've learned, and what anybody in your community might have seen or learned or filled you in with too, right? Unknown Encounter is the title of this email. Hello. My story isn't going to be dramatic. Oh, shit. Didn't I tell everybody not to write in if it's not dramatic? I'm kidding. We don't rate them here. We don't demand anything. We just want to hear the truth. All right? No matter what it seems to anyone, it doesn't matter here. Just get it out. My story isn't going to be dramatic, but it's, however, a story I find myself replaying over and over in my mind for the past 10 years or so since the encounter. Welcome to the club. My, quote, encounter, end quote, is one that begins in the early pre-dawn hours, approximately an hour and a half before sunrise. On this brisk, that's Adventure Dog down there, just so you know. On this brisk fall morning, I was very quietly walking to my bow stand, located on the edge of a 250-acre piece of property I hunt, which also borders a section of the Ice Age Trail here in south-central Wisconsin. I can't get to my location without crunching a few leaves, no matter how slow I go. I planned for this by going in an hour earlier than usual, so I could slow things down going in. I would guess that my encounter took place approximately 40 to 50 feet away from my stand at a fork in the path the owners used for cutting timber. You could hear a pin drop in the darkness that morning when the sound of slow but heavy, deliberate footsteps walking towards me in the dry leaves. This stops me cold in my tracks. I should tell you that I have bow hunted for 22 to 23 years at this time, and I certainly feel confident knowing the difference between a deer walking in the leaves in the darkness and something clearly coming toward me. Walking. Heel, toe. Heel, toe. This lasted for maybe 5 to 7 minutes as it started off farther away and gradually walked towards my sound of crunching leaves. I forced myself not to turn on my flashlight in almost certain panic, not knowing what this could be. Ooh. When I stopped, the walking towards me stopped also, only to start again when I proceeded to take a couple more steps. It was unmistakable at this point that whatever this was is approaching me in the darkness. Without knowing exactly how many more feet I was from my stand, I removed an arrow from my quiver and held it on my hand. At this moment, it sounds like it is surely within lunging range now, and my only thoughts were to shove this broadhead into whatever this is coming toward me. I gave in to not turning on my flashlight, as my next thought was that I need to find this tree stand now and get elevated to a safer level. I quickly covered the 30 to 40 feet in the darkness to reach my stand and climbed up, sat and waited, and listened intently for anything walking away in the darkness. And I heard absolutely nothing leave, and saw nothing leave when first light finally arrived. In closing, never have I given a second thought back then to the possibility of that being a Bigfoot. In watching your videos and many others I deem to be very credible. I seriously agree with you on this much. Thousands of people can't be considered liars. Lack of proof does not prove lack of existence. Many of the people know what they are seeing when they see it. I saw nothing, but I heard what I will take to my grave someday, something I simply can't explain. Trespasser, maybe? Not likely for someone trespassing to walk towards you. Usually it's the other way around with that scenario. Thanks for allowing me to share this unknown encounter. Scott, Wisconsin. Scott, my story isn't going to be dramatic. It sounds pretty dramatic to me, man. Especially when you put me right there, because I walk in the timber in the dark by myself all the time in the morning. And the whole time I do it every time, I always am saying, not today. Just leave me alone. I'm not into your ass. I'm just going hunting to get a deer and go home. Leave me alone. It seems to work for the most part, but just so you know, I'm thinking that shit all the time when I'm by myself, going in the dark and coming out in the dark. This is titled Bigfoot, and there's no lack of evidence. There's no lack of evidence. All there is left now is deny, deny, deny. At all costs, deny. It's kind of creepy how effective that is, no matter what the scenario. Bigfoot. Hello, the name's Justin. I recently found your channel, and I've been listening to all the stories, enjoying hearing them. I live in Northern California, Humboldt County to be exact. I live really close to the Lost Coast, which for these parts is a pretty vast, open, wild wilderness. Not quite as vast or wild as the lands up there where you are at. So 3 winters ago, we had a pretty bad storm, one of the worst we've had in quite a few years. You don't get very good cell reception in most areas, so I had to drive to a call spot up on a mountaintop. My girlfriend and I at the time were arguing and fighting. She was away, so after a phone call, which was around 2:33 a.m. in the morning, I made my way home. So I'm in my truck, I'm driving home, and I get down this long, long hill. I was running LED light bars on my truck, so this thing that I seen had to have known I was coming. No doubt. Everybody up north had those suckers on their trucks this year. It's like, holy shit. They were bright. So I get to the bottom of the hill and I look right. And there's this 9 to 10 foot, really effing huge, hairy creature. It was raining, dumping outside. So this thing was soaked. I was able to see the whites of its eyes. My gut reaction was, get the F out of there. I spent a lot of time in the woods, and there's not a lot that scares me, but that scared the shit out of me. So I dropped a gear, and I make the corner as if So I drop a gear, and I make the corner, and as I do, its body turns, but its head remains in my direction, looking at me. It's a sharp corner, and it headed in the same direction I was going. I don't know if it was trying to cut me off. I didn't stick around to find out. I used to bear hunt in that area one night, this is before I seen this thing, my buddy's dogs caught wind of something, and he let them out, and those dogs didn't want no part of whatever was out there. We had the feeling we shouldn't be out there too. And there was this god-awful, rotten, fleshy, skunky, nasty smell. That's my story, man. Haven't told to too many. In the ones that I've just... couple typos. I think you meant to say... That's my story, man. I haven't told too many, and the ones that I've told just laughed at me and told me I was crazy. Not anymore. Nobody's telling you you're crazy here, that's for sure. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. If only the dogs could speak English. Just give me 5 minutes of clear English with a dog, a rural dog. Got one from Scott. I'm not sure if I should read this. No, I don't know. Steve, you asked what was causing the disappearances of people that Dave writes about. That is the ultimate question. He refuses to make any public statements concerning what he thinks could be the cause out of respect for the victims' families. Even in private conversations we have about it, he gives very little, but mostly asks me what I think. He often asks, what do you think about this or that? But he's never said. I think this is what is doing it. Last year he did go on record in a special he did for the History Channel. The one man disappeared in an open area, literally in front of his hiking partner. The partner looked away for a moment, then back, and the man was gone. The distances to any form of cover were way too far to run in just a few seconds. The show was called Vanished. Basically, put the theory out there that there are areas where there is an electromagnetic field of charge. During the show, they actually found a place where they scientifically monitored a time dilation, where time was moving faster in a certain area. The theory was put forth that if there is an electromagnetic discharge in one of these areas, while a human is there, the person could be instantly taken to another dimension or completely disintegrated by the charge. But this would only explain a small percentage of the disappearances. I can't speak for him, but I can tell you what I think. First off, I think there's a combination of things going on. I think the Sasquatch is responsible for some of the cases. I assisted him in investigating several cases near where I live in East Tennessee. 3 of the cases we were looking into all had very good circumstantial evidence that the disappearances were abductions by Sasquatch. I know from 2 independent sources that the Sasquatch can go rogue and turn to cannibalism. It could also be involvement from other cryptids as well. With the criteria that he uses for the missing cases, that is where I am leaning now. Some of the cases fall into the alien abduction scenario as well, though many do not want to go there. Some of the cases, the bodies found appeared to have suffered wounds from falling from the air. Excuse me. Almost as if they were dropped from the air. He once had a witness report that he was walking down a trail while hiking in California. It was in the middle of the day. The guy was walking along and suddenly walked through what he said was a portal. The man said it just opened up in front of him and he stepped in. He said that it was night inside the portal and there were stars in the sky, but it was different, odd and off. He immediately stepped backwards out of the portal and back into the daylight. The portal closed up in a small circle and then disappeared. So there is another possibility. He did a follow-up investigation and is convinced the man is telling the truth about what he experienced. So, I think there could be a few factors at work and not just one cause. That's the best answer I have for now. Hope your hunt went well. Deer season starts here soon. Hopefully I can get some time in the woods. Scott. All right, man. Rest in peace, Scott. You're still here with us. Still sharing. There you go. Vanishing humans. And it's quite apparent today that vanishing children are outnumbering vanishing hunters and hikers by a lot. How many people are looking into that? How many people are looking into the vanishing children? I really, truly am absolutely curious as to how many people are looking into where all these thousands of children have gone. Have they been devoured? You can't, for some lonely parents that want a kid, possibly that possibility. I'm pretty sure you can't integrate a few 100,000 children all of a sudden mysteriously show up in the households of some lonely women who can't have babies and integrate them into the community. I don't think so. Do you? Right? I don't think so. I don't know why my gut's telling me the food. To be honest, that's the only thing my gut's coming up with so far is these thousands of children are some kind of food for some buddies. That's what I'm thinking. And that's pretty freaking alarming, right? Wouldn't you like to go there? Wouldn't you just like to go there armed to the tits with a bunch of very capable people and go to the source of where these kids are being taken, or to go to the source of where they're taken to, an absolutely clean house? Right? Who's with me on that thought? Anyway, I guess I better start getting my stuff together. I got some traveling to do. Sarah's going to be able to make the last deliveries, the remaining deliveries for this week, today in her car. And then hopefully I can have some good luck in this tail end of the hunting season here and get that one more deer that I need safely. How's that bone there on there, Adventure Doggy? Pretty good? Yeah? Man, she sticks to me like frickin' Velcro. It's so ridiculous. It sticks to me like tape. Doesn't matter. If there's 10 people in the house, she's beside my feet. I get up, go to the kitchen. She gets up, goes to the kitchen. So weird. It's kind of cool. And then sometimes it's kind of not cool, but it's pretty cool. But anyway, what else? What do I got going on? I think that's about it. We're going to keep feeding kids. We're going to keep feeding them. And if you want to throw down a couple bucks, even just once, I think yesterday's video, I showed how to do it. We found it together on the screen here. There's a membership thing on the channel if you feel like it, or not, or at least help somebody in your neighborhood, all right? And let's get these kids raised in true community again, all right? So they don't think they need to go like this to some organization with a 3-letter abbreviation, including GOV, all right? Need children to be raised with a sense of community again, right? Raise them with a sense of community. Caring community takes care of each other. That's a big, huge lesson these kids are learning right now. Very valuable, potentially absolutely valuable for the future of humanity, right? If we can get it to spread more. Share my story, howtohunt.com. And I think she still has the decals in her store as well. There's new hats. I think this one and another one, my favorite hunting hat, but I don't have one in here. She's going to probably load those into her store today. And hopefully this mail strike ends quickly so she can get her new stuff and get all the other stuff out. That's all she wrote. Man, somehow I think there's something else I was supposed to be mentioning today. I don't know. But anyway, if you find yourself in a conversation with someone who's been programmed how to think, when it comes to the WAR, possibly send them a link to that German journalist who tells absolute truth with receipts. Right? The world needs to. I don't know how we're going to change this world, man. How do we get to take the reins back from the dark, evil sons of bitches? How can all these people with badges and uniforms stand in line and follow the commands of these criminals? Isn't it absolutely mind-boggling? How can they do that? And for all you people that are stuck in that position right now, you got to tell me honestly, you got to be frustrated that you're standing there taking orders from blatant criminals and moving against your people and your communities that you grew up with. How did you find yourself there? You can't tell me that. It's not frustrating. And I know there's a bunch of you out there listening to me right now. At least find your people where you are and try to talk to each other about how to solve this shit. Don't just go along with it anymore, you know? Quit going along with it. Just go get those bad guys and put the cuffs on them. Put them away. You know what I mean? Like, man. It's a proven fact right now that there are professional protesters that are flown into various countries and cut loose into those protests. And they know how to manipulate to go in a violent direction. and get the shit show moving in the direction that the dark sons of bitches need the direction to move. You know, it's like when they had the huge protests here in the capital of Canada, they flew in foreign military personnel in UN planes into Ottawa, and they went into Ottawa and beat the living shit out of Canadian citizens. It's all on video. We've got a person in Ottawa sent me the photo of the planes at the airport without any snow on them. And it snowed all day and all night the previous day and night before those guys dressed in green with helmets went and beat the living shit out of peaceful Canadians in the capital of Canada, where that dictator little reptile spawn didn't even speak to the people once. Still hasn't. And now they're taking more guns away from innocent Canadian citizens. They're not taking away from criminals. Wait, they're not confiscating criminals either. They're just taking guns from the innocent Canadian citizens. Maybe they could confiscate some criminals. Get rid of them. What do you think? Maybe they should try banning crime. I wonder if that would turn the tables around for whatever they're trying to convince the people that they're trying to do. If they decided to ban crime instead of banning weapons from innocent citizens, I wonder if that would make a difference. No? Probably not, right? Because that's not what they're trying to do. That's not what they're trying to do. There's only two groups of people that are scared of armed citizens. Number one is politicians, and number two is criminals. That's the same thing. There's only two groups of people scared of firearms today. Politicians and criminals. What do they have in common?